Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to the first project video of 2023. I can't even believe it. Another great year in the books. Erin and I recently sat down and talked through some of the highlights with you guys, and it was just a great year. I hope you guys had a good one as well, and a great holiday season. Just a good time of year to relax a little bit, regroup, think about what you want for the next year. And I don't have any huge lofty goals. You know, we have so many areas to work on here in the garden. I'm not planning on any, structures, things like that. I just want to plant. That is kind of my goal for 2023. But today I want to give you guys an update on the hyacinths that we recently potted and put in the cold frames here. We're going to water those and just take a look at the area in general. We're going to head to the greenhouse. We're going to plant up some seeds and then into the studio to plant up a couple of houseplants. First of all, standing in front of the Hartley, you can see we still have a bit of snow on the ground. We are expecting more tomorrow, but it's going to be followed by, I think, 2 or 3 days of rain. So I don't expect it all to last all that long, but it's been a really beautiful season. We had a white Christmas. That's always fun. So in the cold frames up front, I don't have anything in this one, but in this one, check this out. Okay, gotta make sure it latches over here. Doing it one-handed is a little difficult. There we go. Okay, so these pots are full, Russell, of hyacinths. And when I was looking through the glass today, I noticed that we have some green growth points popping through the soil surface in some of the pots. I also noticed that things were looking a little dry. So we're gonna get all these watered, but seeing that is just so much fun. Okay, you know what, dude? That was not an invitation for you to jump in here. So yesterday and the day before, it got into the mid-40s. And we actually turned the heaters off in the greenhouses. It was warming them up so much that I'm sure that helped kind of spur on some of this new growth. I do have these hyacinths on an every 2-week watering schedule because of course we keep the lids closed all the time. So they're not receiving any natural rain or snow, things like that. So we have to make sure to keep them on that schedule. Look at this. Really? So we'll get all of those watered in a second. I brought my watering can over. I wanted to show you the winter pots that we did as well. I mean, they're looking a little, not as fresh as they once were, but the flame willow branches are absolutely gorgeous. I won't be using myrtle in winter containers anymore. It's still got a lot of flexibility. It was gorgeous and green to begin with, but it turned brown pretty darn fast. The magnolia is always awesome. I love that. Eucalyptus dries and kind of turns a little bit more of a dusty color. Oh, this side you can kind of see colors a little bit better. And then the noble fir is looking a little bit drier as well, not horrible. We'll leave these in here for a while yet. And honestly, I don't mind the brown color of this. It'd be awesome if it stayed more green, but I'm just happy that there's something in these pots. It's just nice to see that bulk. And for the rest of the area, I really just wanted to show you this space right here. It's like an ice skating rink. I mean, no need to build one. It's just a solid sheet right in here, but on the edges it's starting to get muddy because it is a little warmer today as well. But what I find interesting is the walking paths. You can see exactly where we walk the most. I think this one, I did shovel that one. So I think if we were to take off, this one was not shoveled. If we were to just start tromping through, it would be a little bit more of a curve toward that brick, right? The brick walkway over there. But it's just interesting to see how you use your space. And I'm so excited to get this area buttoned up in the spring because, for obvious reasons, it's just a mess. And it's gonna be a big mess when it starts to really melt and get soupy. And then right over in front here, you can see the walking path we take from the house and how necessary it's gonna become to put we plan on putting a paver walkway in here, kind of like out in the south garden. So it'll go from, the sidewalk and we can just kind of follow the natural way we have been walking right to this opening. Isn't that interesting? And part of the plan for this spring is to retool the sprinklers in this area because, to form the gardens around the front of the structure, we had to cap a couple of sprinklers. So part of the grass area died out here that wasn't getting any water. And we've always struggled a little bit with water underneath the weeping willow back there. So we're going to retool it. But the question is, do we still have grass on this side of the pathway? Do we still have grass on this side? Do we create some gardens right in here and just have grass right here instead of the whole thing. I know a lot of you will probably think, no, take the grass out. More gardens is better. We are grass lovers around here though. We do like to have grass. We have a lot of gardens, a lot of flower beds too, but I appreciate that the weight and the peace that grassy areas bring. Plus we have, you know, kids that like to play in the grass, but we do have the big giant lawn out front. So, you know, taking out grass back here isn't as big of a deal as it maybe once would have been because this was our largest piece of grass. So that's something I'm still trying to mull over because I think it would look weird to have just a little sliver of grass on one side and then the huge bit on the other side. And maybe I'm wrong about that, but just having, you know, grass coming to here with this kind of cutting through it, I don't know. But for now, we won't worry about that. We're just gonna get these watered so we can move into the warm greenhouse. Some of you may know exactly what kind of seeds I'm starting today based on how early it is, unless it's things I'm trying to grow on in the greenhouse, like the couple of flats over here. See those? We've got lettuce going in those right now, and I'm trying to grow those to full maturity here in the greenhouse. But these are for the cut flower garden. We are starting 6 different varieties of Lisianthus today. We've got Voyage 2 Pink, Arena 3 Apricot, Arena 3 Red, Mariachi Pure White, Roseanne 3 Brown, and Voyage 2 Green. I was this close to buying Lisianthus plugs this year, you know, letting somebody else start them from seed and grow them onto the seedling stage because it just takes so long. And they're so tiny. Even when you're ready to plant them out, they're usually really small plants. They explode once you put them out in the garden, and they are amazing. Their flowers last for over 2 weeks in a cut arrangement. They look kind of like a rose. They're just gorgeous flowers. And then I just thought, no, you know what? I've got the seeds in my stash. I've got the trays. I've got the time right now to do it. So we may as well get after it. Plus, I'm just, you know, itching for things to do out here anyway. A few things to note about starting Lisianthus from seed. First of all, they have to be started early, like 12 to 13 weeks before your average last frost date, which for us usually hovers right around the first part of May. It varies a little bit from year to year, but that puts us back into January at some point, usually toward the end of January. I'm starting mine at the beginning of January, hoping that by having space out here in the greenhouse, maybe I can get them a little bit bigger before we plant them out than I have been able to in prior years. It does take them about 2 weeks to germinate. You want to keep them in like interior room temperatures until that happens, like 70 to 75 degrees is ideal. So while I'm potting them up out here in the greenhouse, I'm going to put them in the studio because I can control the temperature a little bit better in there, and I'm not going to put them on heat mats because we have the time and we're starting early. I'm just going to let them do their thing naturally, and it stays like 72 in there, so it's perfect. Heat mats in general just kind of speed up the germination process. After they germinate, you want to keep them in a spot a little bit cooler, like somewhere 60 to 70 degrees, which may still just be interior. That's where I've done mine in the past. It's always just been in the studio or up in our plant room inside the house before we had the studio, and I had fair luck with that. This year, I might start them in the studio. Well, I'm going to start them in the studio, let them grow on a little bit, and then about mid-spring when I've got a little bit more consistency and heat out here, because it does get quite a bit cooler. It can get cooler than 60 degrees in here. I will move them out here about midway through and let them grow on the rest of the way. Now, the most important thing about Lisianthus is to make sure to not keep them too wet. And there's a fine line. I mean, they want to grow algae on the top of the water, so we're going to use vermiculite to cover the top of the seed trays today. So this right here, this just helps keep moisture levels in check. It helps with things like damping off of seedlings. It's just really super helpful. I use it on top of most all of my seed trays now because it just works so well. It just helps in so many different ways. Now, Lisianthus seed also needs a light in order to germinate, so you don't want to cover it with soil anyway. We're just going to lightly press it onto the top of the soil surface and then put that fine layer of vermiculite on the top. light will still be able to get to the seed. It works out quite well. And I think one of the more important things about Lisianthus is that they don't want a ton of water. Once they're germinated and up and going, you really want to kind of back off on the amount of water you're giving them. So like to start off, I'm going to keep them on their self-watering trays. That'll help keep moisture levels up while they're germinating. Once they do that, I won't fill the trays up anymore. I'll probably hand water. That way I can control exactly how much water they're getting, and I can let them dry out a little bit. Okay, all of that said, I just need to get them planted. So I've got my seed starting mix. We're gonna lightly moisten it, fill our trays, seed, vermiculite, labels, then we'll take them into the studio. But real quick, look at our lettuce. Isn't it looking awesome? The domes have been off for the last 2 nights and they're looking great. I come in here and give them one of these. The heater in here turns on enough that I think they're getting enough air movement through the day. But I want to make sure to have strong seedlings. I might set up a fan in here. You stay out, Russell. Okay, now we plant. All done, watered in. I used my little yellow mister right over there just to settle the seeds in. And then I put a little bit of moisture at the bottom here. I didn't fill the reservoirs all the way up because with these, I want to be able to monitor the moisture level since they want to be on the drier side. Some seedlings can handle it and some, like these, need to be just, watched a little bit closer. Then I put the humidity domes on top and I will leave these on until they germinate. Once they germinate, the domes will come off and this fan right here will be set to rotate, oscillate, is that the right word? Anyway, it'll fan them to make sure that the seedlings come up strong. And normally you wouldn't have to have the lights on, until the seeds germinate, but since these seeds require light in order to germinate, I'm going to leave them on a timer. So they'll go on with everything else in here. I think it's set for about 15 hours per day, usually between 14 and 16 hours is perfect, and then it'll shut off at night. So that's our first batch of seeds planted for the 2023 cut flower garden, which is so very exciting. It begins, yay. Last thing I wanted to do was pot up those 2 houseplants that my mom and I picked up at Franz Whitty last week when we were out shopping. These right here. So we have a Fuzzy Wuzzy Audrey ficus right here with complete with a blue M&M. I'll give you one guess how that got there. I love the color of these leaves though and how bold they are, and they just kind of have like a velvety look to them. It's such a pretty plant. This one wants medium to bright indirect light and wants about the first inch or so of soil to dry out between watering. We're gonna use this just straight up potting mix for this, well actually for both of these today. And this one is a begonia called Five and Dime, which looks like a heuchera to me. I think it's just so pretty. So this one is gonna go into this pot, and this one will go in this pot right here. Got my bag of soil right here. Let's get it done. And there we go, all done. We've got saucers for them. I did water them in. I'm gonna leave the soil top dress off, which usually I put stones or moss on top, but I wanna make sure of the water level on this one. I wanna monitor it for a couple of weeks just to see how fast it dries out. I'm gonna probably move both of these to the Hartley. This one won't need soil top dress because it's completely filling its pot. In fact, I planted the root ball to the one side because it was really taken off in one direction and I wanted it to kind of look centered in the pot. And you guys, that is going to be it for today's video. What a fun way to start the new year. It is in my mind anyway, you know, starting seeds, repotting things, just really ready to start a fresh year. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it and we will see you in the next one. Bye.